Okay, so then things that, how do you contract your muscles? Do they just happen on their own? Well, you might have remembered from chapter 3, if you read it, or not chapter 3, chapter 4. Chapter 4, or this current chapter, that skeletal muscle compared to things like cardiac muscle and smooth muscle is voluntary, meaning that you can actually control this with conscious thoughts. I mean, there are involuntary movements you can do in your skeletal that can happen in your skeletal muscles, but you can flex your muscles, right? You can cause movements, you can lift your arm when you want to. So the thing is that what you have is you need some sort of signals that run from your nervous system to your muscle fibers. So again, all skeletal muscles have like some sort of nervous system control. So whenever you have these special nerves, so these are not just any nerves, they're called motor nerves. And whenever you have a motor nerve plus a muscle fiber, that's what we call a motor unit. So motor unit is a team. So it's like, I like to think of it like brains and brawn. So brains, this are the neuron, and all the muscles are the brawn. So the thing is that when you have a team that's the brains and brawn, that's the motor nerve telling the muscle what to do. So again, together they make a team. That's what you call a motor unit. And this is how you have, so each of these motor nerves, they actually end in something called an axon terminal. Don't go too crazy on nervous system anatomy and tissue yet. We will get to that later on in the semester, but this is already a lot like this is, so what happens, this is the end of a neuron, and it's sending some sort of signal here to the muscle cell. So this part right here is or actually a small section of a muscle cell. So the end of a neuron is communicating with this muscle cell right here, and sending signals, and all these things are happening. So that's a lot to take in from this picture. So, but here's one central concept going back to things like ion channels and also different types of cell transport. Thing is that in a cell that's at rest, where there's no neuronal activation or muscle contraction in terms of muscle cells, a cell at rest has more sodium on the outside than on the inside. But the thing is that sodium by itself, if there's just plasma membrane and nothing else, sodium can't cross the plasma membrane. Again, you have that hydrophobic core that prevents the charged particles like sodium from flowing through. Now, sodium typically needs ion channels to actually get from one side to another, or actually pretty much all the ions need some sort of channel or transport to go from one side of the cell to the other. So in terms of sodium, if you just open a sodium ion channel and nothing else, no pumps or anything, sodium will flow into the cell. And why did I bring this up? The thing is that ion channels, this is the main thing I want you to know. Ion channels allow ions to move across the plasma membrane. This is essential to understanding what comes next. And this is from, I think, Wikipedia. And I'm going to add something to this. So you have more sodium and chloride on the outside of a cell, and more potassium on the inside. And this is kind of a preview of things to come, especially when we get to nervous tissue. You definitely need to know this. But things like calcium, I'm adding to this. There's more in a cell at rest. There's more calcium on the outside of a cell in the extracellular space than in the inside of the cell in the cytosol. So calcium, there's more on the outside, less on the inside. So if you open a calcium channel, which way will it go? Remember, diffusion goes from high to low concentrations. So if you open a calcium channel, it will move from the outside of a cell toward the inside. I know, so this is like, it's getting to it. So this is why I like to draw it out. So get your pencils and papers, and we'll try to do a drawing activity.